For most of the NBA and basketball's history, the sport has been dominated by Americans. When you look at its best players, Jordan, LeBron, Kobe, Magic, and Bird, they have one thing in common: they're all American. However, that's beginning to change and seem like somewhat guaranteed all-stars. Those players would be Giannis, Jokic, Luka Dončić, Lauri Markkanen, and Domantas Sabonis. And the first three are likely all top 5 players in the league as well. The league is entering an era of European domination like we've never seen before, that I'd like to call the NBA's European Revolution. To truly get an idea of how Europe has taken over the top of the NBA, let's break down each of those 5 individuals' performances so far this season. Before we get into the European superstars, if you enjoy my content and have watched a few videos of mine, think about subscribing. 96% of my viewers are actually not subscribed, so if you've watched me before and enjoy the content, drop a sub and comment down below. It really helps the channel. The first player I want to talk about is one that could win a 3rd straight MVP award this season, in Nikola Jokic, who hails from Serbia. It's fair to say that no one expected him to be anywhere near this dominant, as he wasn't even selected until the 41st pick in the 2014 NBA draft. He'll likely go down as the biggest draft steal of all time. Fresh off of back-to-back MVPs, he's been just as good this season, putting up 25 points, 11 rebounds, and 10 assists per game, while leading the Nuggets to the number 1 seed in the West so far. The stat line is absolutely unbelievable, and as of right now, he should be the MVP favorite. He's the best passing big man in NBA history, and his basketball IQ and court vision are very reminiscent of Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. He's one of the most unguardable players in the history of the league as well, because he'll torch defenders one-on-one, but you cannot double him because he'll find the open man every single time. He is at least a top 3 player in the league right now and has a clear argument for being the best. He'll likely go down as one of the best centers in the history of the NBA. Next, let's talk about Luka Dončić, the 23-year-old wonder boy out of Slovenia. He won the EuroLeague MVP award at only 19 years old, becoming the youngest player to ever win the award. So it's fair to say he came in with a slightly higher profile than Jokic did. Somehow, he was still taken 3rd overall in the 2018 NBA draft, behind DeAndre Ayton and Marvin Bagley. He should have went number 1 at the time, and looking back, it's even more obvious than it was then. He's been phenomenal from the start of his career, but has taken it to a completely different level this season. He's putting up 34 points, 9 rebounds, and 9 assists per game, and is scoring at levels that we haven't seen since prime James Harden and Kobe Bryant. He already looks like a top 5 player in the league, and will almost certainly win at least one MVP award in his future. The Mavs sit at 5th place in the West right now, which is remarkable because it feels like Luka has absolutely no help. He's been unbelievable and is one of the best players to come into the league in a long time. Everything just looks incredibly easy for him. Next, let's talk about Lauri Markkanen, who is the NBA's redemption story this season. He's from Finland, which landed him the nickname The Finisher, which is pretty cool. He was drafted by the Bulls in 2017 and stayed there for 4 seasons, averaging about 15 points per game before they gave up on him and traded him to the Cavs. He had a similar season for the Cavs last year, putting up 15 points per game in his first season playing small forward full-time, and he was traded to Utah this offseason. He has blossomed in Utah and feels like a lock for his first All-Star appearance in his 6th NBA season. Many had already given up on him, but with a better coaching staff and more opportunity and confidence, he has really broken out. He's been great all year, but over the last 11 games, he's taken it to a completely different level. He's averaging 30 points and 10 rebounds per game over that span, while having above 50-40-90 splits. He's having one of the most efficient high-volume seasons in NBA history, and somehow has kept the Jazz in the playoff race all season, despite their team being projected to barely win 20 games. He's only getting better as the season goes along, and looks like he can be a franchise guy in Utah. Now let's talk about Domantas Sabonis. He's a Lithuanian American, so not strictly European, but I wanted to count him, so I'm going to. His dad Arvydas was an NBA player as well, and an extremely impressive passer for a big man. Let's just say that apple didn't fall far from the tree. Domas has led the Kings to the best offense in the league, doing a ton of playmaking, screening, and DHOs. Sabonis was already a two-time All-Star before arriving in Sacramento, but many thought the Kings made a bad trade when acquiring him. He's definitely proved them wrong. This season, he's putting up 19 points, 13 rebounds, and 7 assists per game. He's leading the league in rebounds per game, and I'd say he's the best passing big man outside of Jokic. The offense being as good as it is largely on him, and the Kings are drastically overachieving so far. He's still one of the most underrated players in the league and should be an all-star due to leading the Kings to the 3rd seed in the West right now and being a dominant force on the boards as well as being a phenomenal passer. Lastly, let's talk about Giannis Antetokounmpo, who hails from Greece. He's the only player on this list to have already won an NBA championship, and with 2 MVPs, a Finals MVP, a Defensive Player of the Year, and 6 All-NBA appearances, he's already one of the most decorated players in league history. If his career continues at its current trajectory, he could end up as the best power forward of all time, and many view him as the best player in the league right now. This season, he's putting up 31 points, 12 rebounds, and 5 assists per game, and looks just as dominant as ever. When he's on the court, the Bucks can compete with anybody, and there's very few players in the league that can single-handedly make your team contenders like that. It's very reminiscent of a young LeBron James. He has a good surrounding cast, but it's been plagued with injuries, and Giannis has kept them afloat. There's been European talent in the league before, most notably with Dirk Nowitzki, who's one of the best players of all time. But and the other 2 I mentioned are all-stars as well. It's the most top-heavy the league has ever been with European talent, and it seems to only be getting better. Success of these players in the league will only continue to inspire others, just as Dirk did for many current European players. The NBA has been dominated by USA for a long time, but for the first time, it seems to be shifting more internationally. The NBA is in the midst of a European revolution. Thanks for watching. I'm Herm. Have a good one.